in difference to all or most the other things, it's open source code, not with patents, not with.
But I need to agree that the Google Maps API I want to display that.
No, if you want to use the Google Map API to display, but since you can calculate the coordinates from those with an open source algorithm, you can use the coordinates in any map API.
Yeah.
It's really, and I mean, you can also implement like the granularity thing yourself. I think Aaron does it for the because Aaron has on his website, the background of his website is actually a map of where he is right now.
Yeah.
But I think he cuts off just like, he only takes like 4 digits of the coordinates, so there's some skew.
Yeah, he also has a little bit of geofencing to make sure that his website is never constantly pointing at his house. But I just like the Google Plus code because of their design, the design behind the algorithm. GeoHashes would work the same way. That's also a coordinate system with blocks.
Which I haven't had one yet close enough to me.
Okay, I think there are 2 different things. So there's a thing called a way to have coordinates in hashes, and then there's the hash thing that XKCD did.
Yeah. It's a bizarre thing where they based on the Dow Jones stock index, they pick a location at random every day in every coordinate block.
Yeah, then it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, then I mistyped that while typing the links.
Okay. So there are a few ways you can have an exact GPS and kind of zoom out. If you don't want to give your exact location.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And then it's up to you, of course, what exactly you want to display and whether you want to give out.
What is the best way to get from longitude and latitude locations to something like a nice address where it says to you it's Germany and so on, it's Niedersachsen or whatever else, and the city and this part of the city in the street. Is there something like this?
There's various APIs. I think the keyword is either a geocoder or a reverse geocoder. I can never remember which one is which. One looks up addresses for coordinates and one turns an address into coordinates.
Yes. And you'd probably end up using the one that Google Maps has because they have the best addresses.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
Not sure. There's a bunch of APIs. And
you mentioned the geo free word codes.
The 3 words.
3 words. But that's completely
proprietary.
That's my biggest complaint about
any information about the actual location here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something not from Google, but it is now part of Google Maps, I think.
But reverse isn't.
No, the Google Plus codes are.
Yeah, they
are. I think you got.
Maybe Google does understand the 3 words. That I don't know.
But
I've heard about it. But
they did a big marketing thing, but I personally don't like them because they're not actually open.
Yeah.
So you have to pay them to actually be able to look up all those addresses.
Really?
That makes no sense because they wanted to. Their marketing thing was all aimed at countries without clear addresses and countries without. I don't really like the way they did their marketing and then actually did their product. Don't really match up in my belief.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think the best way is take the coordinates, somehow throw some of the precision away, and then give it a name. And if you want to give the detail which precision it has, you can set the radius property in the markup.
Sure.
Which, I mean, it's kind of on the map. Do you show a pin in the middle of Nuremberg, or do you show a circle couple in Nuremberg?
You can even do. You could even generate static maps.
Yeah,
which
you can
means
actually do that with Google's API.
Yeah, but if you do static maps, it means that you could zoom it out, like make the map tiny, and the dot is still big, so it's always going to hit several streets. So then you're never giving, as long as it's a static map and people can't go zooming in on your coordinates, then even if you use exact coordinates, they're never going to know exactly where you are.
So I have a thing using Google's API where I can generate an image from their map thing, and I can specify that I want like road map and satellite and how big and how small, and I bet there's other services not.
I thought about it, but I was thinking about finding something else in Google because of the copyright.
There's a bunch of services. I know Sebastian Greger wrote a blog post about privacy-friendly ways of embedding maps in your blogs. and one of them is to generate images. And now it
should be possible
Yeah,
because
I know
you can
that-
download all the OpenStreet data.
Yeah.
I think he did
more or
that
less have
too.
a
Yeah.
program that generates
Yeah,
maps from it.
exactly. You can do that. I know that Evan has, I think,
He told me he
Has a-
is downloading Google
Yeah.
Maps and
yeah, but
Yeah, I
he-
think his are
he-
something
he-
like this.
Yeah, but no, he has an open source project which has all,
okay.
which uses all kinds of APIs. And I think he runs a hosted version with API keys. He still has from a previous employer. He shouldn't have.
oh yeah,
but-
he has the API.
Yes, but it's
and
not
also, but
SGO,
Part of the API
Just hit
is
the
that
SL
he
URL.
downloads
Yeah.
Google.
Not on. It can do
Oh,
Google, but
six
it can also
Totally
do
sure.
others that are OpenStreetMap based.
I have also added Sebastian Greger's link to the.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I can add the link to this shortcut if anybody wants to use Google's API. They give out free API keys at least.
Or wants to use shortcuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
You wanted to talk about your log usage?
No, I have logs and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. So I just want to hear people's ideas. But
What kind of logs?
as in, I have now I think over a year worth of where I've been in
Oh, okay.
GPS logs. Like you have your runs, but I have
Yeah,
everything.
I'm only tracking.
Yeah.
Jogging and.
So I have like Aaron and like a couple of other people in the IndieWeb community. My phone just pulls for GPS every once in a while and collects all the points.
Okay,
What are you
I'm
using
waiting to find out how
to
to
do
do
this?
that.
I use Beckitude, but it's I can't give you a link because it's offline. They don't make it anymore. But you can go to Peter's blog because he's put the last version on his thing. Peter Molnar.
We published the APK.
And
somewhere.
he also published his own configuration file for it, which I want to go and try. The nice thing is that it's like written for Android 4 and up or something, and it'll run in the background on the phone and nearly not drain battery at all. So I can run it the entire day.
There is something for iOS that's on tracks or something like that.
Didn't they shut down?
If you're on
Really?
if you're on iOS and you want to do constant tracking of yourself, use Aaron's app.
Which
because-
is Aaron's app?
What about Wanderings? Have you looked at Wanderings?
I don't have iOS. I only know.
You don't
but,
have iOS.
but
I have Wanderings on iOS, and I'm told, no noticeable impact on battery,
okay.
Okay.
and apparently you can download the file, but I never have.
But does it do constant polling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I have-
constant. I think it actually pulls more frequently the more often it changes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think. I'm not even
No,
sure.
the important distinction is that there are lots of apps that do run tracking, bicycle tracking.
right.
But if you want to constantly track yourself, there are way less apps that do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I would just say, because Aaron has been running location data on himself for over 10 years,
Yeah.
why not use his app? Because he's going to make sure that it's going to stay working. And he also has because his app is open and can just post all your logs to a server. You can also use his open source server implementation to receive all those things, and you'll get everything in one go.
Yeah.
Or write your own server implementation and get the logs posted to you.
Yeah. Aaron's app is called Overland.
yeah,
Overland, that was the name.
I'll also put a link.
yeah, because I use an app called Lifecycle, which allows me to track all of the different places that I've been, and it does that automatically, and then I can classify the places afterwards, and I can ignore places, but exporting the data is not something that they like you to do, because of course they want it all in their app.
Yeah, so that's where something like Aaron's app comes in very handy, because he wants people to take the data
So
out.
what's the data like? So do you have magnitude, latitude, longitude,
It's
and
more,
timestamp?
it's
Yes,
more that was,
I just have complete GPX files with all the waypoints that
Some
I've
of
been
them
at.
also
yeah,
post
this
their
is trying to
speed,
like calculate
and,
how
Yeah,
long
this
it's
one
spent
has
doing
height
things being in
above.
places.
Very few actually do the height, probably
It's
because
quite hard.
altitude meters inside
Yeah.
your phone
Yeah.
often not.
That would be interesting because especially in your iPhones have, I think, a really good one.
Okay.
The problem, of course, is you can use that. GPS height is more like for am I in a plane or not,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
pressure of course the problem is pressure also changes regularly. So like you can use it to track in which floor of a building you are if you reset it on the ground floor.
Oh,
That
okay.
works quite well. But over longer terms, it might be that with iOS I could imagine that they integrated with some better API that it updates as a reference regularly.
Interesting.
Apple is the kind of company
They would
say
be able
might
to do it.
they might do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, height is height is more difficult, but yeah.
OwnTrack still exists, and they just updated to support pushing to MQTT 5 servers.
It's just I was looking in it for
OwnTrack stopped the Android version.
That was it.
Yeah, that was
a
real problem.
Yeah, because I was going to build it into Home Assistant so that I could then track whether or not my boyfriend was at home, so that the lights would come on when one of us is at home instead of just when I'm at home, because otherwise he's there sitting in the dark going, the lights usually turn themselves on. Like, what's happening here? He still doesn't get the whole talk to Alexa thing. He like pulls out his phone and then complains because the phone's on the wrong screen and stuff. So I was just like, okay, I'll track you. Like, only when you're at home. I don't care about any of the rest of the time. And then they're like, no, we're not doing that anymore.
For this, I just grabbed the Wi-Fi logs of the devices at home.
Yeah,
quite well.
Yeah, I was gonna do that as well, but we've been having some.
The OnTrack thing has the OnTrack version for Android has been restarted.
Oh,
you should tell David.
Yeah, was that David editing the Etherpad?
I don't know.
Because someone just voted in Etherpad. Yes, it's David. Hi, David.
So this is the sort of data that I have. Like, this is my trip to Nuremberg.
Mm-hmm. So what about
Whee!
ways that Aaron uses the data? Have you found any of them useful for you? Have you looked at them? Or?
I don't know how Aaron uses his data other than for like the maps he generates, and I see no reason why I need to generate maps for myself. So I just have data, and I don't know. So I have this sort of data.
Yeah, I mean for for Aaron, since he live updates it besides it, he displays it on in a few places, and it automatically attaches it to all the posts, I think. But yeah, so something I've been doing it occasionally while on holiday trips, for instance here in Nuremberg. And one idea was to have just something that looks at the logs afterwards and then kind of tries to find places where I've stayed for a while, and then like, for instance, yesterday evening you were 2 hours there. There's the following restaurants in this area. Which one was it? Did you like it? So I then have like, I don't really care about this check-in thing for I'm here right now. I don't care
afterwards to come back.
Exactly, I don't care about that aspect, but I care about when I was last in Nuremberg, where did I go and which places did I like? So that's and daily logs would be something they don't have to try to remember. Where was I? Yeah. The system asks me, you spent a while here.
That's what you get out of wanderings.
More like a heat map?
Well, that's because I'm zoomed way out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you zoom way in, you get a spot every now and again. But I've never tried exporting the data.
Okay, well, I think I found my project for this evening. Setting up Overland.
So yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna try to pull out of that data.
I might, because this weekend I want to work on my check-ins.
It's kind of a heat map because you get where you are for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I want to do something. I want to have something that if I send a check-in or something that's got a geolocation to my blog, then it does something with that, and it takes those geo coordinates and turns it into a map or something, and actually shows people like a graphical representation of where I am.
Yeah.
What would be really cool is if it was dynamic and it could estimate approximately where they are and be like, hey, like Rose is on the opposite side of the world to you.
That's interesting. I mean, on mobile devices, you of course have the location at
On the mobile devices, it actually works, but then people are going to be like, why do you want my location? So that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah. One of the things I do want to do is, because I want to get check-ins working this weekend, tomorrow when I work on my website, it would be nice if when I check in from my computer or wherever I don't have GPS, that when I get to the point when I upload my log, that it can just go, okay, you did a check-in at that timestamp. I don't know where you were, but your phone knew where you were. So I'm going to check with your actual GPS log. Where were you when you checked in? Oh, you were there. Yeah, I can pull that in. That is the one use that I'm.
That's also interesting. Yeah.
As part of this, it might be worth proposing a change to the post type discovery and adding like a geo or check-in property to this list, because check-in is not here.
Yeah,
there is no geo.
For geo, for the check-in thing, there was a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm
yeah.
not suggesting that we just change stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
check-in is now you check-in, right? I think
Yeah.
I showed that in the...
Yeah, you did, but the
Yeah.
thing is that's not something that's going to be in the header, which you can, of post properties that you can then use to decide on a post type. I have to then scrape the content to figure out whether or not the post type is a geo post.
Mm,
Yeah, you have to extend the algorithm for that.
Yeah, but there's usually a geo header, so I could theoretically just use that, but I don't want to start doing non-standard stuff.
And I think the thing with geo, I think initially people propose if it has geo, is it a check-in? But people like Aaron add like a location to everything. Like when you write a blog post that has the location of wherever the desk is writing the blog post in, which isn't a check-in, which is why a check-in is now a property. But it's actually a good point. And
So
should check if we have a GitHub.
Well, what you
discussion
could
at
do
least
is you
for-
could say, okay, if there's content, like proper content, not a summary, but if there's content, then it's a blog post. If there is no content, but there is a geo, then it's a check-in.
Yeah, I think
Something like that.
I think the best
Put it
thing
in
is
one.
to actually have a property for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
like financial properties
because
and
the
it's a
thing is
check-in.
that Aaron does check-ins with photos,
Yeah.
check-ins with notes, or just maybe just check-ins. The plain check-ins don't show on his homepage, the other two do.
Yeah,
But so check-ins can easily contain the little extra thing.
yeah.
And it doesn't
The question
suddenly
is,
make
do you
them up.
want it to be a check-in or do you want it to be a photo post, a note post?
I
or
think he
something?
wants them to be a check-in.
Yeah,
And it makes sense when you go out of your way, rather than doing a photo post that happens to have geo on it, if I use the check-in property, it should always be treated as a check-in. So check-in comes somewhere at the first part of the algorithm. Like if I find this, okay, it's a check-in. It might also contain a photo, but it is a check-in.
yeah.
I don't see any check-in issues on the...
Yeah, there's a bit of discussion on the wiki page, but not.
JWG says hello, sort of.
Yeah.
He can't watch on the screen because Firefox isn't working, but he wanted to know who proposed the session.
Yeah.
So I told him.
Didn't highlight all the GitHub.
Yeah, so check-in is not... You can open an issue.
Okay, where do I do it? Okay, Tantek.
Tantac/post type discovery with dashes between the words. Like, I want to be able to read check-in
Yeah,
posts.
and it's kind of by now there's probably enough people that publish them, and
Yes.
that it makes sense to like go through what do they actually publish. And
Then we're gonna get the whole dance where it's like, do you update the microformats wiki first, so you know that this is a thing? And
Yeah.
we had the point.
I would open an issue there and just see how he wants to progress.
But we're at the point where we can figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check-in, no.
It is actually a check-in property, and we're not just making it up right now, right?
No, it is a property. I showed it in the first session.
Yeah, you did.
And there's a thing where someone wanted if p-location was an h-card to have it as a check-in, and Aaron said, no, I want to specifically say when I want this to be a check-in post.
Yeah.
So that's what we're saying. Like, there has to be check-in property.
Exactly, because a photo could have, this photo was taken here, and
Yeah,
that might not be.
it might not be where you were at the time of posting. So that makes sense.
Okay, this is the worst GitHub issue I've ever opened.
That's fine.
I've opened it. Please feel free to comment, expand upon it. I will happily go back
Put the
and
link,
edit
put
the
the
first.
link in the Etherpad.
Yeah.
It's number 40. I wish I'd been 2 later because 42 is the answer.
Then it would have solved itself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Has someone thought about what would be the right way to use those plus codes together with microformats HGeo?
Not
Nope.
yet. Not yet.
The HGO really only handles
Yeah.
exact longitude, latitude, which is a little sad because there are more coordinate systems even outside of.
But yeah, but for the web, it's really not other coordinate system. That's really web. With the web maps have like specified on one standard, and
Mostly, yeah.
so I think it makes sense for something like microformats to not support the stuff, because outside professional GIS usage,
Oh, that's true.
you don't really need it.
But you could just put your Google Plus code in a PGO property, like
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Geo,
The only other,
HGeo and then P plus code.
You could do that, but you could also, instead of just not use HGO and just say my H entry has a PGO and then give the code.
Yeah.
And that's just a string as a geo value of your entry.
Yeah.
Sure.
or convert it and
Because you only have this one, you don't need the HQ.
or convert it and put it on the
So,
map.
I mean, but there are two separate things you're talking about. One is a single location.
Yes.
And the other is a string of locations, which might or might not be a track.
Yeah.
And one of the things about continual tracking is, and I don't know how Aaron does that, is, you get on a bus, you go somewhere, you walk, you get on a bike, you get on another bus. And I'm not sure how Aaron's
He takes his phone out of his pocket and he taps 3 buttons and it starts a new track.
Okay.
Basically.
I've just seen how to do it. I just installed the app myself.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I can't make it work because I haven't got a back end for it to connect to. But yeah.
And neither
That's Aaron's.
neither Aaron nor Sebastian are at this table because they're both doing it.
Like, should we go fetch them?
But it's the app, and the app has a few icons of different types of transport, and he literally just goes, oh, I'm now going to this transport, start, and the previous one exits, and he starts a new track.
Yeah, that's something I've been trying to figure out with my time tracking. Like, thankfully somebody's just built a new app for Toggle that does that. Like, if I try and start a new timer, it just stops the previous one if there is one, because having to stop whatever is previously running is the blocker for time tracking, location tracking basically everything.
But that's the biggest difference between the kind of tracking Aaron does, which still is pretty involved, and the type of continuous tracking that I do, which is just phone in the pocket and it pulls.
So you need to do some data cleanup on that, or find out how quickly you're traveling, right? To chunk that into usable.
So I don't make it a track. I'm only interested in where was I. So at least right now, I have no use case for drawing a nice line of them.
Okay, this is actually tracking. I just need to set up something for it to send to.
Yeah, it's immediately tracking.
That's good.
You're gonna need a big power bank, but other than that, it's fine.
I have all of the power cables with me. I was not stupid today.
Yeah,
And I've got 2 hours battery left on my laptop.
So I don't do track, but I might be getting an iPhone in the relatively soon future, and it might just turn into a GPS tracking device only. So it's going to be the most expensive.
I like this because what I can do then, I can do the same thing Aaron's got with the weather.
That, right?
The weather where
Actually,
he
not
is.
as good as iPhone.
And then I can, because I have a dark sky API, and I'm not going to get more than 1,000 calls a day, which is free.
Still has a pretty good one.
And so whenever I get
Most
a
of
new
the stuff,
check-in, then I
because if
can
you want
pull the weather
professional
location
GPS,
for there at that time,
that's gonna
and just do
also
like a
be
mini
hundreds of
summary of
dollars.
it. And then I get all that data.
And everything else either depends on your phone's GPS by carrying,
And it's automated.
or it's very basic. So it's like you have to ping it to go and get a thing. Or phones are surprisingly the cheapest way you can track yourself. Or maybe not surprisingly, because the phone's biggest feature is tracking us.
Why the iPhone for tracking and not the other way around?
Because on the iPhone I can use Aaron's
App and
application.
setup.
No, I'm starting a new job and they're probably going to give me an iPhone. But this phone does me very well for all my private use. Plus I have both a Dutch and a Swedish number, and this one takes 2 SIM cards.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting rid of anything here, but I'm getting this new phone with a subscription with it for work purposes. But I'm just a programmer guy, so they're not going to call me constantly. So I'm going to have this phone.
Sorry.
I'm going to have this phone with me, but I don't use it for anything privately at all. It's just always going to be on me.
Yeah.
So I might as well GPS
Make
track
use of
with
it. Yeah. And also, even if they call you, you're not going to be using the data plan that's attached to it.
No. So
Yeah. It's unfortunate that you can't buy dual SIM iPhones in Europe. This one is from Hong Kong.
Oh, the iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is from Hong Kong because I can put 2 real SIM cards in it. Which
is that new?
Yeah. Literally arrived last Monday.
So what you're saying is I need to get my iPhone from Hong Kong.
Yes, but you can only get the 10S Max or the 10R because the 10S does not have enough physical space with 2 physical SIM cards inside it, which would be this size.
My way is just 1 physical number and the rest is VoIP. So.
Yeah, I have a few digital numbers as well.
I don't have 2 real numbers. They're both on my website.
Yes, and I WhatsApped you. The annoying thing is WhatsApp will only let you do one number.
Yes.
But then if you have a second phone, then you can have WhatsApp installed on that as well. And if you set up the right computer with it, then you can push the notifications everywhere else.
That's true. I just use only one number for WhatsApp.
Yeah, same.
I use my private number, so you put in the private SIM, then you activate WhatsApp, then you pull it out again and put in your work SIM, and then still work with WhatsApp on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why this has my work SIM and my UK SIM in it. My actual Austrian SIM card is an iPad, so nobody better call me. And,
Who would when you have WhatsApp? So
exactly. Like everybody knows that if they want to call me, WhatsApp or FaceTime.
yeah.
Was there any more geo stuff we needed to discuss?
Yes.
Yep.
There's always more geo.
Like trying to keep us somewhat on track.
Really like the plus codes. I will have a look at how to find a good geocoder to do the to get to a nice
Human readable.
form where then can say which one I want to take in to say how accurate the location should be. I think that's a nice interface to let me just select one of those. It's not a city, no, I want only the country, for example.
I think that's a really clever idea to do the thing that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure if like a normal geocoder might also be possible to use, for instance, the OpenStreetMap APIs to like give me all the area objects that this is in. I'm not sure if you can do that with the normal APIs, because then you probably also would get like the part of the city, the state easily.
Yeah, and the more you get, the nicer you can go up in steps. That's really very interesting idea.
That's very sporty.
Then I like to do the idea with the other way around, to then go with this information and look for the exact geocodes again.
Yeah.
Because
that's probably something that definitely OpenStreetMap can do.
Yeah, like if you can use the OpenStreetMap, then you get the OpenStreetMap's objects, and they can tell you which size they are, where the center is, what radius they have. It's then relatively easy.
That's very easy.
And I think like there's a few public APIs for OpenStreetMap. They obviously prefer it if you do it yourself, but it's setting up your own OpenStreetMap flow is a few weekends and a few terabytes of storage. So
really?
Yeah.
Is it only a few terabytes?
Yeah. Like the pack,
I don't need the history.
Yes, I think. I mean,
the last time it was only 100 gigs, so
decompressed download. Damn, if you want it in a database that's able to process it in reasonable time, it blows up.
So I need more than
just a Raspberry Pi. Well, actually, no. You need a Raspberry Pi with like a 8 terabyte hard drive connected to it, so you've got space for it to grow.
I should be able to get some USB sticks together.
Yeah, I mean,
you can buy like 1 terabyte SSDs, which basically look like USB stick in size now.
You probably can use the public APIs for it. I know that now for the IndieWebCamp plugin, they got in trouble because they use those APIs without getting an API key, and too many people use it. So they have to fix that now, but
do the same. Okay, I could see that working. I think.
Yeah, so for WordPress, there's the simple location plugin, which someone from the community wrote, which also has like map display, and
I think David wrote that.
Yeah, he's working, like he said that he was working on that like now, basically.
Yeah.
So when I got my track coming in from a GeoJSON file to grab, I'm using JS query. And you said I should try and do plain JavaScript.
Yes.
For the display.
Yes.
How hard is that, really?
I'll have to hang on.
Okay, don't.
No, I have to see your code so I know.
You can't see my code.
Yeah.
Or can you?
I don't know.
Is it on
Do you have any of your pages displaying that map? Online.
Yeah.
I believe your www is broken.
What's broken? What's broken?
Or are you disabling CSS?
I disable everything because at home I'm on a 3G network and I have 300 gig. No, the entire household has 300 gigs of data every month.
Sorry.
Welcome to Sweden.
I mean, I have this app called TripMap, which disables various different other apps from accessing the internet. It's disabled vast majority of the time.
If you look at walks, there's one walk there, but it's displaying at the moment.
Walks, yes. Mapping from external JSON. Brilliant. The map is obviously turned off because probably something I block. Code. Must be script. Script. Where do you use? All right. So I think you're only using jQuery to fetch the JSON file.
Yeah.
Which means that
which is local.
Which means that you can drop the entire jQuery dependency by just fetching the JSON file with normal JavaScript.
Yeah.
Which is like maybe one line more than what this is.
Yeah.
It's literally not. It's not different in code.
It's not a big deal.
No.
Because I thought I was having to do it. It's purely local. Okay. Well, that's something
so if that's the only thing you're using jQuery for, then you can get rid of the jQuery dependency, basically. But I don't know if something somewhere on your blog also uses jQuery.
I mean, most graph themes have jQuery requirements for one thing or another. Plugins have a bunch of CSS which is built on jQuery because in general developers tend to assume that people have jQuery.
I've got rid of all the plugin CSS. I've disabled all the plugin CSS because it doesn't seem to make any difference.
It depends on what theme you're using as to whether or not it really makes a difference. Yeah.
Has somebody tried to more or less categorize geo posts on their blog? For example, if I'm on a vacation trip and I do a lot of posts maybe inside one country and I want to say this is all from my Italian vacation 2018. So then I have maybe something like a category page with what would be nice map with all the posts from this vacations and geotags. So it's not exactly like a track because it's not.
It's a collection.
It's like
it's a geo collection.
We were talking about that.
Yes.
I really like that idea.
So
yeah,
Aaron wants to collect his posts so he can say, because he adds things like, oh, my flight, he adds every flight as a separate post, basically. It's like, if I just want to give you my itinerary for 2 days, I want to be able to say, this is my actual traveling from my home to Tolberg, for example. And so he's trying to do the whole collecting things together, but he's not really doing it yet.
Yeah.
So I think
well, it's one of those things like you have all of this data in the headers. So theoretically, depending on your CMS, you could just go through and be like, okay, like if the date of the post is within this range and the geolocation of the post is within this range, then I want it to be included in this collection. It depends whether or not your CMS will allow you to grab that data out.
One would be how do you how you get everything together in one category that should go together.
Yeah.
The other one thing would be how to display it nicely.
Yeah. Displaying it nicely can go once you figured out how to get it, to be honest.
like,
Step one, get the data.
Yeah, like I mean if you have a nice little microperformance, you could even make something that parses your site and gives you a list of things to put in a category, or even does it over micropub if your site supports that. Or you could build it as a feature into your thing. And yeah, I think then for display, I guess it could be what could be a solution is like if you have like category for holidays and then like a pin post at the top, which has a map or something embedded.
So it's not really a category page, but you have a dedicated blog post for as a wrapper more or less.
Yeah, and then theoretically you could have like an interactive map and calendar, and then let people select based on the calendar and or map.
Who has the interactive map?
Anomaly?
No, another one.
She also had one for her.
Okay, but because there's another one person who was in the US whose entire website background is a map with all his check-ins, I believe.
I don't remember.
And I think Clever Devil had a display that did that for him. Oh, what's the other guy? AJ.
Maybe. I'm trying to remember if I can find Lillian.
It's very hard to remember everyone who comes to all the events. And then not only remember their websites, but also what they built on their website.
And hopefully that they haven't yet taken it away from their websites.
That too. There's that too.
Yeah. So one example is this site by Anomaly, anomaly.world. where she
yes.
documented like one of her big dream trips. And then like she also like all the check-ins. For me it was really funny because I for some reason followed her normal website feed while she was traveling, and basically in my feed reader I saw her speeding across Berlin because she checked in at she basically, I think she flew in and then took the tram to the S-Bahn to train station and then left from there by train, and more or less and each station she passed, she checked in. It was post. But apparently, I thought that it was supposed to. Okay, and it links to that. I thought there was a display where it changes if it does,
Very nice
it doesn't
idea.
do anymore. But like if that would be kind of, if you click here and the dot here on the upper half,
Yeah,
the
the
lower
user
half, it
User trip
changes.
data, say,
Yeah.
It's
stuff
easy,
like
yeah.
this, so this should be.
Something like, would be even nice to have the map, interactive map on top like a filter, where
yeah.
you go into one section and you only see the post from this section.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's not very difficult. That's something like Leaflet.
Yeah.
Like for displaying maps with JavaScript on a website, Leaflet is the standard answer for the library that does everything.
There's a
All
graph
networks.
plugin for that.
Yeah.
Sorry?
There's a graph plugin for Leaflet.
Jeremy is using Leaflet.
Yeah, well, there we go. I didn't know that, but hey.
So we are already out of time, unfortunately.
They were just talking about Leaflet, and I remember that there's a graph plugin for
Oh
it.
yeah, but it's not good.
Well, there's two plugins.
There's two
Questions,
plugins,
which one are you using?
and I started off with that, and the reason I'm not using it is because it does locations, but it doesn't do track.
But the map
So
doesn't
you
really.
can get locations.
It might just be being
I
checked.
mean, I'll show you. This is
I mean, his site with all the styling is always broken and interesting.
His styling's constantly broken. But he used to do that if you were scrolling the timeline on the left, then on the right his map
it's not
moved and showed
plugin
where
at
he
all.
was at the
It's
time.
all
The
happening
post
in
you
the
just
page.
scrolled to was at.
and I want to get it into the template.
Well, the thing is Leaflet
where
is
Aaron's-
JavaScript, so you're not going to get that into the template because the template is Twig.
Yes,
So-
it's his own website.
But what you
How
could
do you
do
mention
is
Aaron
you could, if
on
the header contains a
Mastodon?
geo
At
thing, then
Aaron
you could
PK
take that
at-
out, but I would like to only do that on checking
Oh, where
posts,
do
so
I
we
find
need
this?
something to happen with their toast discovery type.
In the source of this page.
But you can process the twig.
Yeah, you
In-
can process the twig in the template, but you still need the JavaScript from somewhere.
Yeah, thanks. Very well.
Next
Thank you for the
notifications.
excellent.
Yeah, next
Where's
is
that?
only notifications.
Yes, everybody's going to
We
notifications.
have to go back over again.
So
Okay, I have too many icons.
Yeah.
Because I think you can mention Aaron.
I think it's Aaron PK at aaronparaky.com.
so I gotta look up
Yeah, I'm not
alternatives to get JSON.
Well, yeah, but it's just there's a JavaScript call for get, and then you just specify what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And then
We
it basically, instead of .get JSON, it's .get open brackets, and then you tell it exactly what it is that you're expecting. .get.
Just need to do that.
Fetch. I use jQuery because there's a bunch of stuff I have to use at work that requires jQuery, so I just remember that it's $. Based on. And I thought it was $.get.
And
There's no dollar in JavaScript.
I know.
but on the other hand, it's just like a typical kind of question where Stack Overflow.
It's also there are a
Like
bunch
3
of
seconds. Actually, the best thing to do is to actually look at the jQuery documentation where they go, this is how you would do it in JavaScript, and here's how you do it in jQuery, and then you copy the JavaScript.
Yeah.
Done.
It's even easier to go like.
Should we hang up on the Hangout?
No, I don't think so. I don't know if it's safe to hang up here or whether Aaron has exited on his machine.
We can keep it running. I might actually stay here and
I'm going to listen in because I love notifications, but there's probably nothing in the actual discussion that is important to me.
exactly that's because I'm considering like getting the stuff from paper into
Yes.
proper graphics.
Because if Sebastian says that he doesn't want to be constantly notified, then it's not the session for me because I want constant notifications. I want a stream of notifications.
I'm sure I'm sure I can make like an electric shock device. I might have that.
I totally